All right, welcome back to the program. My guest is here with me, Shikir Nuhu, who is the Executive Secretary, National Association of Microfinance Banks. Welcome to the program. Let's get started. We have a lot of ground to cover, and I hope we can do that. The first question is, are you all prepared to be recapitalized by the end of this month? I have the circular here that was given to you last year.
That's right.
Are you all prepared?
Yes, first of all, I want to sincerely appreciate you for this opportunity for us to share our thoughts with the public and particularly our investors, the public, that they are keen about our activities. As at now, for us as an association, which is the umbrella body of all the microfinance banks, like you know very well, the microfinance bank are providing banking services, specifically financial services to the economically active poor in the society, which has been creating a lot of impact. So when this circular came, for us, we anticipated. The challenge we are facing is just the timing at this crucial time. But for us, as a sector, we are prepared for it, and we are working towards it, and I can assure you that we will meet up as expected. So
you will meet up by the end of this month?
Yes. Well, looking at the current scenario, a lot of them will meet up. I want to give the confidence to the public, or assure the public that a lot of us will meet up. And when the issue came up, not that some of those MABs are not doing well. They are operating, they are doing their businesses. It's just that they increase the capital base, which to us, the increase is almost 1,000%. That is just where we have the issues. There are some MABs that currently, they are doing excellently well, but they don't deem it fit to look at it in the aspect of the recapitalization increment. But for us, we can assure you that a number of them will cross over. And I would still want to assure the public that we are going to meet up and there will be no any issue within the sector.
Within the sector. Let's take a look. How many microfinance banks? Because I know I did say that we have close to 900 or more than 900 at my opening, but that's how many? Because I know there were some that were delisted, or there were some that were closed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. I think last year, I think so.
Yes.
So how many microfinance banks do we have now?
Yes, before now we were having over 1,000 plus, but because of the closure of 42 MFBs, which currently we have about 874. And out of those 874, we can assure you that a number of them will cross over. So for us, we are working towards ensuring that the remaining ones will cross over. Even if they are not going to cross over, at the National Secretariat of the Association, we are trying to see how we can manage some of them in terms of merger and acquisition and outright sale of those ones, so that we don't create a panic within the sector.
Okay, let's take a look at the condition of the minimum capital requirement so far that has been listed by the Central Bank. Because in that circular, like you said, that the minimum capital requirements were raised by more than 1,000%. If we take a, can you run us through what the minimum capital requirements are for rural areas and states as well as across the country?
It's okay.
Because they have categories, we need to say that.
Yes. During the period when the circular of CBN came, for a unit microfinance bank, they jack it up from 20 million to 200 million. For state microfinance banks, they jack it from 100 million to almost 1 billion naira or to 3 billion naira. For national microfinance banks, which they cover the entire country, they jack it from 1 billion to almost 5 billion naira.
By April is in phases?
Yes.
Okay.
So for us, after looking at it, we approached CBN, pleaded with them that let them consider the increment, which is almost 1,000%. In their own wisdom and consideration of the activities of the microfinance bank, which they appreciate the activities. They now review some of it downwardly. For a unit microfinance bank, they now tier them into two. We have what we call tier 1, which are the ones that are in the urban areas. Then we have tier 2, which are basically in the rural areas. For the tier 2, which are the rural ones, they now pick it at 50 million naira. For the urban tier 1, they now pick it as at 200 million naira. For the state microfinance banks, they now put it at 3 billion naira. For the national, they took it down to 5 billion naira.
But I must say, with what I'm seeing in the circular now,
yes, yes.
Let me just run you through it
Yes,
so
right,
that
yes, right.
so that I can have a sense of that we're on the same page. MFB is operating in rural, unbanked, and on the banked areas, that's the tier 2 you talked about,
right.
shall meet the 35 million naira capital threshold
Yes.
by April 2021, which is at the end of this month.
That's right.
50 million naira by April 2022.
That's right.
Okay. MFB is operating in urban and high-density banked areas, tier 1, are expected to meet the 100 million naira capital threshold
That's right.
by April 2021, end of this month.
That's right.
200 million naira April 2022. That's next month, next year.
That's right.
For national is that the microfinance bank that is called national is
across
everywhere
the country,
in country.
any part of the state.
Yes.
Yes.
I expected to meet minimum capital requirement of 3.5 billion naira capital by April this month and 5 billion naira by April 2022.
That's right.
So we must say for the tier 2, that's MFB is operating in rural, that's like that's units microfinance bank.
That's right.
That's like one
location.
branch, one
Yes.
location
within a place.
within a place. Then for the states,
Which
within
cover the states,
states.
The local government within a state.
the state.
And that was why I was giving you the explanation that that was the first approach they gave us. And when we now approach them, they now reduce the requirement down to 50 as they were segmented into you. Now our challenge is that, and what they are now saying is that we should meet the 50 million in 2 phases.
Okay.
Which is what you are just read now, that the first phase should be 35 for the first stage, which is from now to April ending, and the second stage by 2022. And that's what we are pleading with CBN, that yes, we accept the increment and we all understand that there is need for the capital increment because most of these MFBs have been operating over time and they need to increase their capital base. So, but the challenge we are facing is that the volume of the increment is our concern now.
Okay.
So we make submission to them at various quarters and we are still advocating for CBN to reconsider their positions.
Well, why do you want CBN to reconsider now? Because I know that the issue of the capitalization has been there for a while.
Not too long, it was 2018.
Yeah,
and
2018
you know, when we
is
came
long
to
ago.
2019,
That's like 3 years ago. So, and I know because of the pandemic, that's why they extended
that's one
it.
major issue. And the second issue is that, you know, the economy has been so harsh for investors to really develop interest into microfinance banks. We also look at it that some of these microfinance banks that operate in the rural areas, if you now ask them that they must meet these capital requirements, certainly some of them will just fizzle out. And this microfinance bank in those rural areas are providing financial services to those people at those grassroots. And a lot of them have been doing very well. And one funny thing about some of these microfinance banks, or interesting thing about the microfinance banks, some of them are community-based microfinance banks that they provide these services for the communities. In fact, you will imagine that some of the local governments, 1 or 2, they don't have anything like commercial bank in those locations. So those microfinance banks are providing those banking services and financial services to those local governments at that level. And some of them are doing very excellently well. So, but what we are telling CBN is that let them reconsider the timing.
That's the deadline now.
The deadline.
Well, to what time? When are you advocating? Or what time have you advocated to the
Yes,
central bank?
we are advocating for 31st December 2025.
Oh, that's
Yes.
like 4 years from now.
4 years from now. And by then, at least members have worked towards their books, and investors have also developed confidence in the Nigerian economy, because currently, like I said earlier, the economy has been harsh. So, but if they extend that time, most of the investors might have developed interest. Some of the MABs may have also sourced for funds to build up their capital requirements.
Do you think that your group or the microfinance banks in Nigeria, do you think they've lived up to expectations since their creation? Aren't we seeing a failure in the microfinance banking system of Nigeria, even with over 1,000 that we had at the time?
Yes,
Do people do your work?
like any other business, sometimes they have challenges. And if you say 1,000 microfinance bank and 800 or so are surviving, it's quite a good omen to the sector. Because you discover that a lot of other businesses, look at these multinational companies, where are they today? Some of them have fizzled out, some of them have closed shops. But this microfinance bank are striving to see that they survive. And the economy has been so harsh to most of them. In fact, for us, the microfinance banks have been doing very well in some aspect. Despite the fact that, like any other business, as I said earlier, they have their teething problems. But I can assure you that a lot of them are working towards it. For me, the concept of microfinance bank is a specialized institution where you need a special consideration, where you need a special approach in its own activities. So when you are comparing the years of operation of microfinance bank with the current situation, for us, we are doing very well. The concept came in 2025, which is almost 10 or 11 years now, which for us, a lot of them have been doing very excellently well. In fact, you can't believe that some of the microfinance banks.
2005?
Yes, 2005. 2005.
Yes.
2005. Some of them are doing excellently well, and they are providing the necessary services
Now,
at the rural
if we're
areas.
talking about doing well, there's also the complaint by many Nigerians that when you go to the microfinance bank, they will hit you with the high interest rates. What's the average interest rate across microfinance banks?
Well, it varies from an institution to institution. For me, the interest should not be an issue. Is the mentality of we Nigerians. We also have some of the microfinance banks that they are non-interest microfinance banks, that they are doing very well and they are operating. For us, the interest vary from institution to institution, as I said earlier. It is not to a good position that some people go to the microfinance bank and they are being turned down because of the interest rate. Sometimes providing of services, meeting of your needs, sometimes is key.
But if you are serving the poor people, because I know that when the microfinance bank model was built in Nigeria,
That's right.
they looked at models that have worked elsewhere, especially like Bangladesh,
That's right.
the Grameen Bank.
That's right.
You know, yes, Grameen, if I'm not mistaken. You're taking a look at serving people that cannot afford financial services.
That's right. That's
you know,
right.
petty businesses,
Yes,
trading
micro,
and all.
small
So
and medium
does it make
enterprises.
sense that you'll be hitting a poor person, a rural woman, a farmer in the village with a like 25–30% interest rate? I understand.
Nancy, I tend to disagree with you on that note, because sometimes some of these issues are just speculation.
It's not
without
speculation.
Without really having
it's
the
not
facts.
speculation. I know a lot of
It
banks.
is.
I know a lot of microfinance banks MDs.
That's right.
I've spoken to a lot of them. It's not speculation. There was a time I even was banking with a microfinance bank. I was
Yes.
like, okay, let me bank with a microfinance bank, like savings. Let me just be doing savings with them.
That's right.
So I know these things.
Well, I don't want to join issues with you. That is the way you look at it, and that is a perspective of some of the public. But I can assure you a number of them, their interest rates are very attractive. And some of them, they compete within the market. Like you cited example of Grameen Bank and other clients. You discover, those of us that we visited Bangladesh to see what they are doing there, there's no much difference between what is happening there with what is happening in this country. The little drift in the concept of Nigeria is the word that we are using, bank. So everybody look at it as bank like any other commercial banks. But the idea is to meet up the needs of those micro entrepreneurs. But you discover that most of the time, those that they want facilities or loans, they will approach microfinance banks. But when they have their deposits they took it to the commercial banks. As low as 5,000, you will see a customer taking that 5,000 to a commercial bank. But
Meanwhile,
if he needs, yes, if he needs loan now, he now comes back to microfinance bank. So some of these funds are not easily generated by those MLBs.
So the thing is that doesn't it also fall on you people,
That's
or you and your colleagues or your association to do more advocacy? Because I even use this my platform sometimes to tell people that if you need like 100,000 naira loan, if you go to these big banks, I don't want to call their names, they will not. They will not even answer you.
That's right.
The way you walk in is the way you walk out.
That's right.
And if you take a look at the number of bankers or people that bank in Nigeria, with the data at least that I saw the last time, not many people in Nigeria have more than 500,000 in the banks.
That's right.
In the deposit money banks.
I agree
so that means that there's so much room for the microfinance
to mop up those funds.
to operate. So if you now need a loan of like 100K or 200 or even 50,000 naira, why should you be going there? But you should start with at least saving with them. You're a customer. Then if you have a need, they are able to give you that need.
Right.
Why I'm saying this is that doesn't the onus fall on you, on your association and your colleagues to do more advocacy about this? Because some people will not know that you may even need a loan of 5K or 10,000 and your microfinance bank can give that to you.
I agree with you totally. That has been our advocacy. For us at the National Secretariat, we have a monitoring and evaluation unit of the association where routinely we go around the state's capital, the MFBs, sensitizing them, interacting with the public, interacting with the operators to educate them on the need for them to mop up these funds from the public and give out these loans to those in need. One of our major advocacy too is to the federal government and particularly Central Bank of Nigeria. Since the inception of these microfinance banks, there has never been any deliberate attempt to support the funding of these MFBs. So most of these MFBs are privately driven, except the institutional MFBs. So you discover that sometimes they generate or they mop these funds from the public at the cost.
What kind of support do you want from the central bank? They should be giving people money since it's a private business.
No.
Or you are trying to indict the first bank since it's like not too big to fail. So if a big deposit money bank wants to fail, they will put money there. So they should do that for micro.
No, what we are saying is that if at all there is any window, they create a palliative to the microfinance subsector, where we are also within the Nigerian economy. In a situation like those ones that they fall out, it could be that some of these microfinance banks, they need less than 5 million to kickstart their businesses. But because they could not raise those monies, they shut down they close down their shops. But if the government can have a deliberate action on such MFBs, certainly they will come up and do well, even in form of grant, form of those palliative I mentioned, and so many other issues that surrounds it.
Okay, just finally, before we go, because we have to go now, what if your advocacy fall on deaf ears and the central bank says, you all are going ahead with this recapitalization by the end of this month? What will happen?
I can assure you, as I'm speaking with you, as soon as I leave this studio, we are holding an emergency meeting to review the situation. In fact, as I assure you, we have been hearing the public saying that 600 and so microfinance bank will go down. All those things are stories that they are not really obtainable. These are just news that, for me, that number may not really be there, because we are, like I said earlier, we are looking at the aspect of merger and acquisition. So a lot of things are undergoing now to see that most of these microfinance
so there shouldn't be panic.
Our target now as NAMB, leave no one behind. That is our slogan now. For these few days to the end of April.
Yes. Okay. I think I'll be in close contact with you guys and see what happens, at least by the end of this month, and we'll continue to monitor the situation.
We'll appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I've been speaking with Shikir Nuhu Caleb, the Executive Secretary at the National Association of Microfinance Banks, NAMB. That's the much we can take right now.